Tracy here with the Oasis for Natural Healing, and wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about parasites, one of my favorite topics. And some people are starting to be more aware that, yes, parasites are an actual thing and that a lot of people have them. And if you don't think you have them, guess what? You probably actually do. And it's actually one of the most common things that we actually find in our patients. And so common that we actually have the biggest parasite challenge in our office. So whoever poops out the biggest worm or excretes it from any other place of their body, which it can happen in multiple places, if they send a pic, whoever poops out the biggest worm and sends a pic gets a prize at the end of the month. I actually just posted a couple days ago several different pictures from two of our patients. So you can actually find this on the business Facebook page, the Oasis for Natural Healing. I think I might have posted this on my personal page too, as well. But yes, if you have any type of symptom, chances are it's actually from parasites. So what are some common symptoms? Actually, believe it or not, a lot of skin issues. Okay, so psoriasis and eczema, dermatitis. This actually is an indication of parasites. Not being able to sleep at night. So insomnia, this is actually this can actually be from having parasites. They are more active at night. Or like if you ever have late night cravings, like sweets, carbs, sugary stuff, this is actually the parasites that are talking because they actually feed off of sugar and high carbohydrates. Any digestive issue, Crohn's, colitis, diverticulosis, gas, bloating, nausea, acid reflux can be from parasites too. Headaches and migraines, seizures, believe it or not, and it's actually on the CDC website too. So we had a little boy, and people think that this is only for adults. Actually, no. One of my favorite stories is talking about this little boy that we had as a patient. He was maybe about 4 or 5 years old. Poor kid went to the doctor's office several times, would have like abdominal pain, couldn't poop. So people think of parasites and they think diarrhea. That's not necessarily the case either. Sometimes you can have so many parasites and you can wind up actually getting constipated. And this little boy was so constipated all the time. He actually went into the ER several times to get enemas. He actually wound up having colonoscopies already at the age of 4 or 5 years old. It's like horrible. I felt so bad for this little guy, and my poor mom was just like beside herself, didn't really know what to do. You know, he was on stool softeners, fiber, and all this other stuff, and just could not poop it. Sometimes it would be a couple weeks without him pooping, and he'd be just so miserable. Can you imagine like not pooping for a couple weeks? That would make anybody grumpy and not be able to concentrate or sit still, let alone a little kid. Oh my goodness. And so this little boy, I felt so horrible for him. So mom was like beside herself, and I don't blame her, not at all. And like Western medicine just wasn't finding like the answer, even with the colonoscopy, you know, things like that. So she was like beside herself and didn't know what else to do. So she thought she would talk to the voodoo doctor, which I've been called before. I've been known as the voodoo doctor and stuff like that. And so she was like, I have to give this a try because I've like exhausted all of my resources with Western medicine. And I can't keep putting my kid through this. So I was so grateful that she actually, thought outside of the box and decided to do something. So we do what's called muscle testing in our office. And actually, we've been able to do something virtually too. So we use this cool technology called quantum nutrition testing that now actually allows us to see patients outside of the office too. So, but in person, we use this tech, it's called muscle testing, and we basically are using acupressure points and different parts of the body to kind of figure out what's going on. So, and what I love about this is even if it doesn't show up on a scan or if it doesn't show up on blood work, doesn't mean that you don't have an issue. Like this kid clearly had an issue. Like you should be pooping daily and several times, like a couple times a day. You should be able to go to the bathroom. And like all of his tests came back like negative, like fine, colonoscopies, everything else, like fine. Couldn't find an issue. But that's not normal. So there's always an underlying issue of like, why do you have your symptoms? Even if it doesn't show up on scans. And so we were able to use this, muscle testing and figure out like he could pinpoint, he touched where it hurt, and we would muscle test that area. And he was actually coming up for parasites. And his mom was like, well, how is this possible? Like you would have thought that the parasites would have showed up on the scans. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You would think. However, what's kind of interesting, well, or it makes sense. So you have multiple layers. Okay. So, not to sound graphic or whatever, but this is the best visualization that I can give you. So, when we do a colonoscopy, so this is like your rectum, and we're putting the scope up in here, and we're only seeing this aspect of your colon. But this colon, your intestines have to actually attach. So like this is your belly button. Okay. So this is the outside. This is what you see on the abdomen, right? So the belly button's here and the colon is on the inside. So this colon has to attach, and there's multiple different layers of tissue that actually attach to your abdominal wall so the intestines don't go flying around like when you run and play and all that other stuff. So it basically holds it in place. So there's multiple layers of tissue. Okay. So when we're looking, we're only looking at this inside of the colon. We're not looking at the multiple layers, between the colon and the abdomen. Well, parasites can actually lodge themselves deeper into the tissue. So when you're looking through a colonoscopy, you're not gonna see them. Okay. And she goes, well, why didn't it show up on my stool sample or on my kid's stool sample? I said, good question. Because if they're alive, you also have to be actively killing off parasites in order to actually see them in the stool sample. Okay. So think of a brand new bag of Skittles. A colleague of mine actually explained this, and it's a really good analogy. Dr. Sarah explained this to, once, and I absolutely love this analogy. So think of a brand new bag of Skittles. You have all the colors in the rainbow, right? You just opened it. You got all the colors in there. But I go to scoop out like just a handful of it, and I don't see any green Skittles in my hand. Does that mean that there's no green Skittles in the bag or just no green Skittles in my hand? Well, that's like parasites and poop samples. Not only that, but you can have parasites in other places, not just your intestines or your gut. Parasites have been actually known to be found in the lungs. So some guy actually ate a whole bunch of sushi, and he actually had x-rays. He couldn't breathe. He was like feeling miserable and all this other stuff. I guess he went like on a sushi binge or whatever. And they did an x-ray of him. And this is like you can actually look this up. So he had parasites, all worms in his lungs. Could you like imagine? That's horrible. And he couldn't breathe. He was having a hard time breathing and things like that. So CDC actually recognizes parasites. They can be found in the brain. Okay. They can be found in multiple places, not just the gut. But for this little boy, he had actually parasites in his intestine, and it was in between the layers. So when he had the colonoscopy, they couldn't see it. So it was in multiple layers. So we were able to muscle test, and he pinpointed, and he actually had parasites in that area. And it took several months, but then all of a sudden he actually was able to excrete. His mom sent me pictures of these parasites, and he hasn't had a problem since. No more constipation, no more abdominal pain. And even though all of his tests were normal and they didn't find anything, yeah, he actually had parasites. So, how do you get rid of parasites? Well, and cleanses can be a little bit tricky. So, like, I don't know if you guys have ever like heard of people saying that they felt like really horrible when they did a parasite cleanse, that they had like a whole bunch of like joint pain, headaches, fatigue, like really bad abdominal pain or bloating or gas or nausea. I don't know if I mentioned joint pain, and they did not feel good at all. And people are running for over the count, like, or not over the counter, but they're running for like things like ivermectin and bendazole and things like that. Some of that stuff is very limited and it's only going to handle the intestinal parasites. And it also depends on which ones too, because it's not going to handle all of them. And not only that, but you can have actually serious side effects from the medication because let's just face it, ivermectin and bendazole is a medication. It's a chemical. So I like to use herbs and homeopathics because the body knows what to do with it. And it's a lot safer for your body to use these things. So I use a couple different companies and it depends on what you muscle test for. But we use things like Cellcore. I use companies like Energetics. I use companies like Systemic Formulas and MediHerb. Now, some of the good herbs that you can use are clove, black walnut, garlic, just to name kind of a few. Neem can be really good. Ginger root. So those are some really good herbs that you can actually use for parasites. A lot of times it takes multiple things. Pumpkin seeds can be really good too, but to get rid of parasites, you usually need like a couple different herbs for that in combination. Now, the supplements that I use, like Cellcore, in each of their supplement, there's at least 6+ different herbs. And some of them are in liquid tinctures. Some of them are in capsule. Depends on what you muscle test for. And usually most of my patients need at least a minimum of 2, if not 3 to 4 different supplements just to kill off the parasites inefficiently. So why do you feel sick and sometimes even worse? Or why do new symptoms develop? Okay. Well, we're going to kind of go over that. First off, parasites actually absorb toxins in them, heavy metals and heavy chemicals. And large parasites can have actually smaller parasites in them. So when we start killing off parasites, they actually release smaller parasites. They can release things like heavy metals, heavy chemicals, even candida, sometimes even Lyme, sometimes even mold. Okay, so they can release this stuff and then you don't feel so good. So wherever your parasites are at, they're going to release gunk into your system and then you're not going to feel so well. So what we do is we make sure, so we muscle test you or use quantum nutrition testing, whether you're in person or virtual, to find out other things like what kind of supporting supplements does your body need? What kind of drainage support to support the kidneys, to support the liver? What kind of binders? If you are doing a parasite cleanse, you should always, always, always be on a binder, period. Some of the best binders that I know are from Cellcore. I absolutely love Cellcore's binders. But if you're going to try to do an over-the-counter, then it would be charcoal, bentonite clay, zeolite, things like that. Okay. Some of the binders, though, are only gut specific. meaning it doesn't go past the gut. It doesn't get into the brain. So if you have parasites in your brain and it's releasing heavy metals and heavy chemicals, you want a good binder that can get into the brain, into other areas of your body. And that's what cell cores binders are meant to do. So a lot of times what we do at the Oasis for Natural Healing is we support the body first. We prep the body. We make sure that your mitochondria is up and running because it takes work. Your body, it takes energy for your body to turn around and detox and to kill off parasites. So we make sure that your mitochondria are functioning, that your cells and organs and glands have enough energy to detox, to go after parasites. Then we open up your drainage pathways as well. So if your drainage pathways are clogged, think about it. If your kidneys are clogged in any way, if your liver is clogged, your lymphatic system, your bowels, and we start killing off parasites, where's all that gunk going to go? So you want to make sure that your drainage pathways are open. And usually we do this for a couple weeks and then we start adding on the parasite cleanse. So we start prepping your body first. And a lot of times by doing that, most of our patients really run smooth with parasite cleanses. Sometimes there's some hiccups and sometimes it's just a matter of adjusting supplements or, the dosages or whatnot, because it's not typically what the bottle says. There's a way for us to actually figure out how much you need and in what combination of different supplements that your body specifically needs. So it literally takes the guesswork out. But this is why some people, when they go through parasites, or they go through a parasite cleanse, they don't feel good. Okay, they feel like poop. So, and we don't want that. So we want to prep the body as much as possible, get your body ready for a parasite cleanse so that way you have smooth sailing. And this turns around and winds up helping you feel better so that way you can go through parasites and then you can join our biggest parasite challenge. Okay. So again, whoever poops out the biggest worm and sends us a pic gets a prize at the end of the month. So, and our patients get all into this. Like, you should see some of the pictures, not to sound gross or goofy, but some of our patients really get into this and they love to send us pictures. So, and you can find all of these pictures out on our Facebook, the Oasis for Natural Healing, and on our Instagram page. And their symptoms get better fairly quickly. Now, one of the things that I want to point out though is that you can get a parasite cleanse, and usually it's like a 14-day challenge. It's, a 21-day, cleanse or whatever. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Most of our patients, and we use physician grade supplements, most of our patients don't start passing parasites until 2 to 2.5 months into our program. So if you're doing a 14-day cleanse or a 21-day cleanse, that might not be long enough. And a lot of times our patients are still passing parasites after 3 months. And this is with professional guidance. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, even if it's not with us, whatever you're doing is really taking care of all those parasites, and you're doing it for a long period of time and long enough to handle the underlying cause. Because if you don't, those pesky little critters wind up just keep multiplying and coming back with a vengeance. So you want to make sure that you're handling everything quickly and efficiently. And that's what we love about quantum nutrition testing and muscle testing, because it's literally a tailor-made program specifically for you. It handles the underlying cause of why you have your symptoms. We can find out what supplements you need to support your body during this. And it literally takes the guesswork out. So instead of figuring out which cleanse should I do? Should I do this one? Should I do that one? How much should I need? How long should I do it? All of these questions get answered. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, then give us a call. We have actually a free 10-minute phone call, discovery phone call. You can book that appointment with either me or Tamara, my associate, and figure out, hey, is the next steps the right one for you? If you're like, yep, I know that I need a parasite cleanse or I need a heavy metal detox cleanse, I want to get to the root cause. Okay, great. We actually have a special this month, going back to school special. Take advantage of it. You and your child boost your immune system. Take care of the parasites, take care of the toxins, help your immune system out because I can guarantee you, once we get rid of the parasites, once we get rid of the toxins, your immune system can function much better. So it's getting to be holiday season coming up. Don't be one of those people who are always sick for the holidays. Let's start it now. Let's get your system up and running. Let's take care of all the gunk that's holding your system back from healing. Let's support your immune system. So you and your child, so we want to support the children's health too. So both of you, for a limited time, can get a consultation with us for only $99. You and your child for $99 a consultation. That's 2 appointments. Each appointment is an hour long. That's 2 hours of professional consultation time. Back to school special. Let's keep you and your kid healthy for the holidays. Now is the time that you want to do this. You don't want to wait till like Thanksgiving and when cold and flu season already come. You want to be one of the ones while everybody else is sick that your system is up and running. So now is the time to actually do that. Let's take care of the parasites. Let's take care of the heavy metals. Get your immune system up and running. So 2 hours of professional consultation time per person. That's only $99 for you and your child. So that's like $49 a consultation or $49.50. Can't beat it. Limited time. Call our office 708-694-4092. And if you have an HSA or FSA account, that will pay for the consultation. So use it. A lot of people wind up, if they don't use it, they lose it. Don't be like that. Use it. Get your body healthy. Give us a call. Look forward to speaking with you. Have a wonderful evening, guys.